Okay, so here's the deal. You have a lot of people now that are tired of the constant closing, opening, restrictions, non-restrictions, right? So you have a lot of people that are just staying home when they're sick. You have a lot of people who are getting at-home COVID tests. You have a lot of people who might even just be treating it like the cold or the flu and not staying home and also not getting COVID tests. You have this wider range of different behaviors now. Whereas in the beginning, you did have a lot of just straight to the hospital, straight to get COVID testing. You have a lot of testing sites closing down now that things are getting quiet. So it's still out there, but the numbers aren't really reflective of what they believe is the truth, right? Especially because of the at-home tests. And I had one recently that came out negative, and you have to go and you call a number or go to the website or whatever, and you can report your test results so that they can gather them. I don't know how many people do, but I'm gonna guess it's somewhere along the lines of not very many. So the question is, are we in the middle of another COVID wave, or is it really just dying down? Is it moving silently through the population, or is it really as low as we think it is? I have other questions, like what is the significance of that? And what do we need to do about it? Or where can we take this conversation in a way that's actually helpful toward not producing a bigger, more visible outbreak and definitely not having a silent outbreak that becomes a silent killer. So what do you guys think?
Why don't you take
Uh,
this one, Teo?
sure. Well, first I want to start relax a little bit and start with a joke that I've read, and it's not a good joke. It said, "Congratulations, USA, for avoiding a second COVID wave by making the first wave never ending." And I think that is what's happening in here, guys. You never
Mhm.
stop having COVID. Just people
Yeah.
stop ignoring all the death out there. Uh, some of you likely decided to get the vaccine, so now there are more immune systems out there able to bear, and you get sick and you survive. Uh,
Mhm.
Sadly, a lot of people aren't that lucky. And yeah, the thing of the invisible wave, as Laura mentioned, is this thing that you get sick, you don't report it, so the government has no idea about how many people are getting sick, how many people are dying out of this. Are they dying because of the flu? Are they dying because they are old? Are they dying because nobody said that they had COVID and they just died without going to the hospital? And this is, as you said, a silent killer. People probably keep dying in huge numbers, but the government doesn't know about it. Therefore, they don't inform it. Therefore, people have no idea. And there is also the pandemic fatigue. Do you know about that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for people who don't know, the fatigue is that responsible people, we have been inside our houses 1 year and a half doing nothing, working from home, avoiding going outside, and then you see all these irresponsible people just going without masks, not taking care of themselves, avoiding the vaccine. And you get tired because you're doing everything right, and you see this huge amount of idiots doing stupid stuff to destroy everything that you have been sacrificing yourself for. And you end up saying, "What the hell? If these idiots are not going to do anything, what good does it that I am here suffering?" And you say, "Screw it," and you get sick, and the disease continues, and there is not much to do there. It's very sad.
Absolutely. And to your point on that one, I take the train into work every day, and for the most part, people are wearing masks. Now, there are also plenty that don't. And right now where I'm at, masks are no longer mandatory on the train. They're not even really recommended. They're just, you can wear them, you cannot. No one really cares. But I still, like I said, I see a lot of people who choose not to, and they always have a particular look about them. They're always like very white conservative looking. I don't know if they actually are conservative, but it's really. Oh, in the county over that is very conservative. You won't find a single mask among anybody in the stores, walking down the street, anywhere. They just they got tired of it, and I feel that too. I'm tired of wearing my mask, but I still do. I still do, and any chance that I'm in a very enclosed space for an extended period of time, you know, um, what else do you have to add?
Well, okay, so Teo brought up a really good point that we don't want to overshadow, and that's that as COVID has spread throughout the population, and as 67% of the people who are eligible, which is not enough, but it's still quite a bit, have gotten the COVID vaccines. So you have this sort of mix of nearing herd immunity, and so there is that part of the conversation of, well, maybe numbers are quiet because we do have a lot more people who are able to fight it off. And, so I don't wanna overshadow that, like, that would be a step in the right direction, it'd be really positive, it'd be good. The problem is the "I don't know," and it does lead to a lot of speculation, which we have already done right here just now, like, we've done a lot of speculating, and I do wanna make that clear, like, the problem isn't that the numbers are dire or the numbers are really, horrifying, it's that there aren't the numbers, like, we just don't know. What we have is the numbers that are reported within hospitals to people who or from people who go and get tested, and so they're in the database, and that's just not happening in really high numbers, which could potentially be really good news. Um, so I came up with, like, sort of a list of questions, like, if we're seeing this lull now and we think that it could potentially be sort of an invisible, COVID wave, what do we really have to think about or talk about? To me, it's, are there rises in death tolls? What is the death toll? Can those deaths post-death be linked to COVID? Like Teo was saying, maybe someone dies and there's no initial COVID, diagnostic. Can they get that post-death? I don't even know. I bet they could. Are there rises in hospital cases after what they suspect might be a silent wave? Like, is there sort of a lull and then a rush, you know? Um, and then what is the impact to individuals and people on society? Lots of these questions. So my problem is those questions should be asked yesterday, right? If not right here, right now. Because if we're talking about, well, what is the potential for COVID moving undetected throughout a population and then maybe potentially causing worse deaths than is really necessary? Not that any deaths are necessary, but please bear with me on that one. Um, what can we do to stop it, right? My answer is whether there's immunity or not, whether it's a silent, invisible COVID wave, or whether it's just not there, take precautions. Assume that a wave is possible. Assume that it's possible for us to not catch it in time. Assume it's possible for things to happen and get out of our control when it's too late, and see what you can do to mitigate it in the first place. That's kind of my big take on this. What do you guys think about that, Teo?
I would say that at least it's good to know that vaccines are working and that people are getting their immunity. And something interesting about the conspiracies and anti-vaxxers. I was talking on my show some time ago, some weeks ago, about a guy in Australia who got 40 COVID vaccines in order to
Four
sell the
zero
permit.
40.
Yeah, he got 40 vaccines in order to sell
Okay.
the documentation that said, oh, this person is healthy and he can go out without a vaccine. I mean, without a problem. The a pass, a card that they
He
give
was
you.
selling the card that said they were vaccinated.
Exactly. So he was
Oh,
selling this card to people who believe that the vaccine is deadly or terrible or is going to do something to you. And he got the vaccine 40 times, proving that even 40 times the dose is required is not going to do anything to you. It's so hilarious. And I think, I mean, it's terrible, it shouldn't happen, but this guy proved that the vaccine is harmless. Well, not for the virus, obviously. And I, I guess that at least if we have that type of examples, people can stop, being afraid of, oh, this terrible vaccine that was developed so soon. And I think that part of the silent wave quotation mark, and according to the article, is because the vaccine is actually working, and people who get the vaccine, they don't get sick, and or they don't die, or they just don't get sick. I don't really know how that works. I didn't find much information about it. But yeah, at least there is a good side to this, and at least vaccines are working, and people who got them, they are not getting sick, or they are surviving. That is something very important.
so no vaccine is 100%. And
Right.
even with this
That's true.
particular vaccine, it's not, the chances of you getting sick are lessened. And if you do get sick, the symptoms are lessened. And
True
the
that.
numbers, the effective numbers of the vaccine are amazingly high, even compared to the flu vaccine. And we are getting close to what is considered an endemic, which the flu is an endemic. It's
Mhm.
something that can be managed if we take certain precautions. And even our response to the flu year over year has been absolutely horrendous. I think it's getting
Mhm.
better amongst some people, myself included. I used to never take the flu shot except when military required me to do it when I was in. But beyond that, I wouldn't take it. Now I'm like, nope. I The way that I look at it is it's a rights versus responsibility, and I
Agreed.
don't have the right to get somebody else sick. And I really wish other people would understand that they don't have the right to get me sick. But that's not how it really works. And Laura, you brought up something with the numbers, and because the United States is so fractured in their response to COVID, we will never really know the true numbers. News
Right.
outlets are saying that we are close to 1 million deaths. Other firms that are taking tally, they say we're already there. They're saying we're over 1 million deaths already. And I I would be more apt to believe that we have passed 1 million, probably a little bit sooner than even those firms have tallied. Just because, again, we don't know. We don't know, how many of the deaths that happened in the past 2 years has been due to COVID, due to, whatever. We can't go back in time and, perform a COVID test on, on corpses, because that will have been long since passed. But we're still getting sick,
Mhm.
and we're still going to continue getting sick. Whether it's COVID, whether it's flu, whether it's the cold, it doesn't matter. What we need to do is we just need to take the simplest of precautions. If I get the sniffles and I'm around coworkers, if I can't take the time off, I'm not wearing a mask. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, yeah. So this is interesting because, um, there's a lot of conversations about autonomy and personal choice, right? Whether pro, con, this, that, and what's interesting to me is that this one is such a vehement one, like, when it comes to people not wanting to take precautions. And I just don't comprehend that as an empathetic person because I really don't care if I feel good knowing how germs work, right? First of all, even if I am going to get incredibly sick from COVID, when I first get exposed, I'm not going to get sick for a few days at least, which means I'm a little incubator running around passing that virus to everybody until I start to see the symptoms and lock myself down. And that's true of anything cold, flu, whatever, strep throat, right? That's why these things go around schools and daycares and work centers and stuff, because we don't know until we feel sick. And so we just pass things along. If it's as simple as wearing a mask or as simple as, just kind of maintaining not so much time in large spaces or large spaces, spaces with large amounts of people. Please spend a ton of time in large spaces, people, especially outdoors. But you know what I'm saying? Like the precautions are so mild and so few. And the vaccine, I don't know, maybe it is because I too have had 1.5 million shots having been in the military. So to me, they're just really not that big of a deal. I'm not trying to be flippant about it, but the COVID vaccine to me seems really like a very menial. I went, got poked, came home, like it was fine, right? Um, so even if you had reason to not wanna get that, all the other steps to mitigate are so simple. And so I wonder when we have these arguments about autonomy and personal choice, and I should decide what, like, you don't decide to drive on the right-hand side of the road, but that saves lives, right? You agree that that's
Well,
something you need to do. And those who don't, what? They get in trouble, they cause accidents, they
Hopefully,
cause deaths.
hopefully they
You
get in
know?
trouble and don't cause deaths. But yeah, I've definitely
Yeah.
seen more than my fair share of people driving down the wrong side of the highway in my ever so wonderful state.
I'm gonna presume there's not
That's
a direct correlation between them and the
No,
people that are not taking COVID
no, no.
precautions.
Well,
let's hope
there
not.
could be. You
There
never
there
know. You never know because we don't know
Now
the
let's go into
numbers.
speculation. Yeah, let's speculate, people. No, but that's where my mind goes, is the empathy of, like, if I know that I can do something simple to help somebody else and to stop the spread of something that could very easily get out of our control again, and that we've already seen has gotten out of our control, just do it. That's I get so confused why people make it such a big issue.
Wash your damn
Well,
hands after you go to the bathroom. That shit's disgusting.
Duh, whether
so
COVID exists or not.
Yeah.
it's a cultural thing. Call me a weeaboo if you want, but I really like that part of Japanese culture where whenever you get sick, you wear a mask because it's not because you don't want to get sick, because you are already
You don't want
are
to spread
sick.
it.
So you avoid exactly you avoid spreading. Either you don't go to work or you avoid spreading the disease. And
Mhm.
I mean, that's the minimum. How the heck we didn't do that for years before? And I hope that now people start doing that always, because we need it. Come on, and it's a very effective way to prevent getting others sick. I may be sick, but I don't want to make everybody sick. That's it,
SARS
people. It's common sense.
SARS was absolutely devastating, for the Eastern world, and the entire culture got together and decided, no, we don't have the right to get others sick. I'm not saying that we have to be other countries, but maybe take a little bit more,
Just a little
a
bit.
little bit of personal responsibility. Come on, party of personal responsibility, get on it. All
And
right,
let's
so again, I think that's a good stopping point for there.